everyone. Good evening. It's evening there, right? Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. Can everyone hear me clearly? If you can, just type 1 in the chat box.
Hi, Sue. Can you hear me? It's Lorette.
Can everyone else hear me? All right, great. All right, so I'm sure you guys have heard about Fiverr and already have your Fiverr accounts, right? All right, so today's session is just talking about Fiverr, and you can't see the chat box. Now, the chat box, the section here that you're typing in is the chat box. So you actually are in the chat box. Can you see my screen? Type 1 if you can see my screen and type 2 if you can't.
Hey, Sue.
All right, give me a second. Let me get connected.
Hey, Sue. Can you hear me? No? Can anybody else hear me? It's Lorette. Okay. Great. I think Sue's not paying attention to me. Hey, Sue. Anyway, welcome everybody. This is Lorette, and I'm so glad that you guys are able to join us. We miss you already.
Are you able to see my screen now? Type 1 in the chat box and 2 if you can't. 1 if you can and 2 if you can't.
I don't think Sue can hear me. Sue, everybody can hear me but Sue. Sue, can you hear me?
All right. Okay, so persons are now able to see my screen. So welcome again. Hello, my name is Sue. This is Sue from Internet Income Jamaica. So I work in the office at Internet Income Jamaica in Jamaica. So I'm actually in Jamaica, and it's actually 12 p.m. right now. I'm not sure what time it is for you. All right. Now, again, tonight's session is about Fiverr and how you can improve on your Fiverr. So by now, most of you should have your Fiverr accounts ready. Okay, so it's 7 p.m. right now. Well, good night, right? So most of you must have or should have a Fiverr account already. So today's session is just showing you how to improve on your Fiverr account, all right? Now, we also have another trainer with us who will be able to give you some other tips to help improve your Fiverr account. His name is Kimani, and he will be joining us shortly. Now, a few things I just want to go over quickly just to make sure that you all have it is your profile. And everyone is seeing my screen now, right? There was one person that was not seeing my screen, just making sure everyone is able to see my screen. All right, great. Now, the first thing that I recommend with your profile is that you have a nice description. Now, your description is an introduction to you. It's where your clients will see about you and the services that you're offering, right? So, yes, are you seeing the Fiverr screen? Great, good. Now, the profile is where you go to describe yourself. So you need to have a well-written description or profile, right? You also need a nice photo, one preferably of you smiling, and you also need a tagline, all right? So there are 3 important things in your profile: your photo, your description, and your tagline, all right? Great. Now, we're going to turn it over to Kimani, who's going to be giving you some additional tips on how to rock your Fiverr and make sure that you make some great sales, all right? So turning it over to Kimani.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me well? Just type 1 in the chat box if you can hear me well. Okay, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, we are doing good on the audio. All right, now this will help a lot if you have Fiverr open as well. So if you have Fiverr open, just type a Y. It doesn't have to be signed in. We just need to be able to see the Fiverr main page at fiverr.com. So type Y to tell me that yes, you are ready. You have the Fiverr screen open. Doesn't matter what browser you're using, Firefox, Chrome, Internet Explorer, Safari, it will all work, as you know. So we're not doing software training, we're actually doing optimizing with Fiverr. So I'm going to ask you that you close Microsoft Word, any other program that you have open now that may not be necessary at this time. We're not sure how fast everybody's computer is, so we don't want anybody to be lagging behind because I'm not going to be doing too much, but I will be changing the screen a lot, and I'd want you to do it along with me. So if we're good to go now, you can type a G. We just want to make sure that we're definitely ready. You can't hear me at all? Could you check your speaker settings, see if everything is okay, if you're plugged in? Because some persons are actually good. Okay, I see that we have a few persons with sound issues. You can just check and make sure that you have the right speaker selected. If you're using a headset and you're not realizing that it's plugged in, that might prevent you from getting sound. There are different issues, so can probably give you another 60 seconds to try and work that out. So let's just another 30 seconds or so, we just see what happens. Okay, so everyone, we are now getting ready to start our Fiverr optimization. Okay, so you should be seeing the Fiverr home screen now that I'm displaying. Just make sure that we're all together. So just give me a Y if you are seeing the Fiverr main page that I should be broadcasting now. Okay, great. Now, one of the top things that is often asked on Fiverr for students, anybody wanting to start on Fiverr, is how do I know what sells? Because most persons realize that they can't just do things that they're good at because that might actually not make any money. But then they want to know the answer to the question, and how do I know what sells a lot on Fiverr? Now, that's a kind of a tricky question at first because, technically, just about anything could sell a lot of. As an individual, you may sell a lot of greeting cards, for example. You may do a lot of writing, but for someone else, they don't find that quite works for them. But I've been actually doing a bit of research on Fiverr to see if I can have some predictable results, and I do have some great tips for you. So what I'm going to be sharing with you is actual experimentation that I've done. This is not guesswork. This is not just theory. I've actually tried this out myself. So let's actually take a look at one category to get started. Let's look at the writing and translation category. Now this is if you want to actually do a bit of searching through the categories. There are some other ways you can get to this, but I'm going to show you probably the most straightforward way you can do this. All right, what you want to do is to first go to a general category. So we're in writing and translation at the moment. And we're going to be looking on the left. You should be able to see the categories listed on the left. So you see a heading, shop in category, then you see articles, blog posts, translation, and so on. All right, so if you can see that menu on the left, just type M. M as in mango. Yeah. Okay, great. All right, so you can do this with any category. Just go to the main category and you'll see the listing on the left, okay? Great. Now, what we want to do is find out exactly how can we find a top seller by using this information here. Now, interestingly, it doesn't pop up just right away. You have to do this little trick that I found out to get some numbers. You can check the delivery time, let's say up to 3 days, like I'm doing here on the left. And you notice when I do that, you start seeing some numbers appearing there beside the categories. Okay, if you're seeing the numbers popping up now, just type 1. You can now see numbers that are beside the headings, okay? Now, you might have noticed we didn't see numbers before when we were looking at the different headings, copywriting, transcription, press releases. There weren't any numbers there before, but now we're seeing numbers. So this is something that many persons aren't really aware of, and we can use this to our advantage. So what you see here is that articles and blog posts, and we can switch up the delivery time to see if it's always a leader in the category of writing. Articles and blog posts has 8,300 on the 3-day delivery. So it's the leader, it's a clear leader here in the category. Of course, it doesn't mean that the other areas can't do well, but this is basically just for some data so that you can analyze where you probably want to target. So make sure you're taking your notes and get an idea of how you can find out the numbers of this. So everybody make sure you're taking your notes as we go along. Okay, so let's try the 7-day category for delivery time and see what the numbers are. Okay, so now we're seeing 9,044. If you're seeing that for the articles and blog posts, you can go ahead and type the letter A. Just want to make sure you're following what I'm saying here. Okay, great, you are following me. So it is still the leader in the writing category. So what this means is that even if you don't have such a great gig put up, which we do encourage you to have a great gig description, just by placing yourself in the article and blog post area, you're likely to pick up some gigs. And actually, I've actually tried this category myself and got some gigs to write articles for our website. So what this means is that you want to pick the higher number areas first. You can definitely try the other areas. So for example, copywriting and transcription does a lot. There's actually a student that came to a transcription class I did some time ago, and she is actually in the process of resigning at her job. So notice it's not in the article category that has the leading number of persons they're selling, but you can definitely make a great living from any other categories. But as I say, it's a strategy that we're thinking of. So let's jump right into the articles and blog posts now. Okay, if you have any questions, you can just type Q. I'll pause for a minute and you can ask a question because I don't want to really move too fast if you're not really getting anything about the strategy I'm mentioning. So if you have a question, you can type Q and followed by the actual question, and I will try to answer it right away. Okay, if not, I will continue and we'll look at this category here. Now, just finding the top sellers numbers in a category is just the first part. It's not enough. So what you want to do after that, you want to see how persons pitch their gigs in these areas. So let's look at some of these persons in the 3-day delivery time option. Okay. All right. And for your gigs, you definitely don't want to be anything above 3 days. I actually recommend everybody put their gigs to 1 day to get the attention of the sellers, because initially you don't know if the job is going to take you longer than a day, and maybe a day is all the time you need. And also you can negotiate with a custom offer to extend it, but you definitely wouldn't be able to negotiate with a customer that you didn't get to speak to because they were not interested in your delivery time. So that's my personal strategy. But if you can, definitely no longer than 3 days. It's not going to be competitive for you as a new seller to go longer than 3 days. So what we want to do now is we want to check out some of these gigs that we see listed here. And I'm going to switch the view from the tile view that we have here to a listing view where we have it like you see here now. Okay, and we see the titles here. So if you can see these titles on the screen here, I will rewrite website, I will write original web content, I will write and voice, okay, not sure what that word is there, listicle, okay, or article, all right, fine. Okay, if you can see this, just type a 1. You seen this? And these are level 2 sellers. that we're seeing there. Okay, so right away we're seeing that, okay, now the thing about level 2 sellers is that, you have to have 50 orders to get to level 2. And of course, this person with 1,000 plus orders definitely is more than qualified for level 2, probably a good candidate for a top-rated seller. Now, what they did with the article, with the title here, is that they put the word article there. And so if that's selling so much, it means that persons want their articles or blogs or website content written. So that's a big tip right there. And if you can see the second person, I will write original web content. Web content definitely seems to be a top seller because there are 708 reviews on that gig. That is awesome. Let's actually take a look inside that gig, okay, because we want to actually explore a few of these gigs that are there. And in case you're wondering, so how would you actually create a gig to take advantage of this? Well, let me just kind of run ahead of myself and say you're just going to copy what persons do. Copy in the sense of just mirror the exact gigs. A lot of persons don't know that you can actually use the same title. What you can't use are the same images and the same description. But you could actually put up a gig that says, I will write original web content. And that would be quite legal and okay for you to do. But you may ask, why would I compete with somebody who is doing so well at so many sales? Why would anybody buy from me? That is the point exactly. None of these persons can actually tackle all of the gigs on Fiverr because there's too much work there. And I'm going to prove it to you by just looking at the orders in queue for this person here. Now, their orders in queue on the screen right now. This time I'm going to ask you to type the number that you see there for the orders in queue so I can definitely know that you're tracking and following along with me. Type the number that you see beside orders in queue for this seller of web content writing. Okay, perfect. Now, if there are 8 orders in queue, that means that persons are waiting for their work to be delivered. So if someone came to this seller here to get their work done, they're definitely going to have to wait. Now, there may be an upsell. Let's see if there's an upsell to bump them up to first spot. So for extra fast time. There isn't one, so this person definitely is in the order that they receive the gig, no matter if you are paying a higher gig order. If you are, okay, here it is. I think it's a girl. Okay, all right, okay, let's not worry about the gender. But this level 2 seller here has a response time of 11 hours. I guess if you're doing a lot of writing, you probably are concentrating on doing the research, so you can definitely compete here by just simply having your gig being on 1-day delivery and using the same title. You're offering the same service of $5 and 1 day. Look at here, look at the 3 days right here. I'm kind of highlighting it with the mouse here. So when you have your gig at 1 day, you'll definitely pick up some gigs there. You need to make sure that you definitely use the tags they're using. So let's just scroll down to the tags. The tags are going to help you to make sure your gig is in the right category. Now, if you can see the tags that I'm looking at here, I want you to type the name of one of the tags that you are seeing there, just to make sure you're viewing the same content I am seeing. If you can see the tags that are there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tags. Okay, they actually spelled writing incorrectly. Does writing have 2 T's? It does? Oh, okay. All right, just make sure you spell it correctly, okay? The tags have to be spelled correctly. Writing has 2 T's, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Okay, it's incorrect, right? Articles, website. So in other words, this gig is actually doing spelling, right? This gig is doing well even though one of the tags is incorrect. So what this shows is that if this person had the tag correctly, they would probably doing a whole lot better. Even though, I mean, I can't imagine them wanting more work in their queue that they can handle. But these are good keywords to use, so you can copy the keywords legally. There's no copy issues with you using the same tags because they're just tags. It's a category, so you're free to reuse those. That's another reason why persons' gigs don't rank highly on Fiverr and persons are not getting views, clicks where you really want to get, because clicks means potential dollars. So you want to write down these tags before we even move on. Of course, be careful of the spelling. So if you're wanting to target articles on websites, you want to write website content and you would want to write blog post. That's key. All right, so we're going to go back out to the main page. Again, I'll pause for a question. If there are any questions, you can type Q, followed by the actual question that you have to ask of me. All right. If there are no questions, we will look at another category just to illustrate what we are talking about here. So has this been good information for you so far? Type Y if you agree. Okay, if not, type an N. That's okay. All right, so let's look at the graphic and design category. Now I'm going to pause here a second and just explain a bit of how you can actually speed up for searching for the top sellers. What you can do, you can ask yourself certain questions. Now, for the most part, Fiverr helps to serve businesses to outsource their tasks that they don't have time for. Yeah, in some cases that they don't have the skills for as well. Now, most times websites will want a website. Businesses will want a website, sorry. And if a business wants a website is not just plain text, they're going to need graphics. So what are some of the things that you think a website would need before we even go any further? This is kind of to pick your brain a bit. And this will help you to actually fast track how you can find top selling gigs. Just give me a one word. What do you think are some of the things that a website? Okay, a logo. And I can tell you that's bingo right there. Logo is easily a top seller on Fiverr, right? Content, photos, definitely. So let's look at some of the categories that were listed here. We have models, we have presentation graphics, logo design, as you see here. Let's jump right into that. Okay, because we want to actually see some numbers. You don't want to just take my word for it. But I can tell you, logos are a top seller. They are a top seller. How do you view the list? Okay. All right, so the first thing we need to do when we're in the top level of any category, we first need to make sure that we click in that category first. So that's the first thing we want to do. All right. And I'm just going to just scroll back down to where we had the logo design and click on that area. All right, so we're now switching over to the logo design area. Okay, so the top level in graphics and design will give you the tile view because there are not any persons listed there. You have to actually go into a subcategory to be able to bring up a list. Now, in the subcategory, so we're in logos, the subcategory of the graphic design. Then you can choose a list view. If you don't like the tile view that you're seeing here, you can choose a list view by using this icon here at the top. So you see recommended, high rating, new, and if you look right across that white bar there, you'll see the 4 lines, 4 bars there, and you can tap that to get the listing. If you're talking about the list on the left, that comes up when you choose the top level, okay? So what you find is that in different categories, Fiverr tends to show them differently based on how they're feeling about presenting that category there. So that might change from time to time. Okay, but let's basically look at this area here. Now for the logo design, you have different ways that persons put it. Some say modern logo design. Some will actually use the word Adobe, which is if you want to have your product designed with a special software, you can put that there. That also helps people to position themselves as an expert in logo design. So you have that logo design for your company. Logo design is pretty much straightforward, the kind of words you're going to use for your title. You don't really want to use anything too strange sounding. An elegant signature logo, that can be a catchy way to do it. You can usually try 2 versions of your gig. So for example, if you look at these 2 gigs here, the retro design, elegant design, you could put 2 gigs with these 2 titles here. So you could say, I will design retro vintage hipster logo, and you use that as 1 gig. Then you have a second gig, a new gig, I will design an elegant signature logo. In case you're wondering, why would you do something like that? You want to see which one of those will get better hits on your gig. So if you see that 1 gig has more views, more clicks, then you can simply pause or discontinue the other gig. But you wouldn't really know what would work if you didn't have an alternate version of the gig to test. So you you call this kind of strategy split testing or A/B testing, where you see if A works better or B works. So even though I'm telling you here about the high sellers, even in the high sellers, you can get to a faster start if you do a split test to see what will get clicks and reviews faster. Yes, I know it takes up some of your gig space, and when you're new, you only have 7 gigs to use, but it's better to have a top selling gig than 7 gigs that are not getting any clicks. And I've actually known persons that have had 1 gig being a top selling gig for a particular service. As a matter of fact, let me not just tell you, since we're talking about top selling gigs, let me show you. Would you like to see it? Type Y if you'd like me to show you that top selling person who is making a lot from just 1 gig. Now, I'm not telling you to put 1 gig on your profile. That's not a good idea. But with this person here, she put 1 gig up. It's in the virtual assistant category. Sorry, in the business category, subcategory virtual assistant. And that 1 gig is giving her tons of orders. So there are some gigs that I'm going to tell you, yes, I do have some favorites, favorite towards you doing, especially because I know it's really easy for you to get started. And I definitely encourage everybody to do, yeah, the profile says United States, but it's actually a Jamaican seller that we have right here. I personally trained this person and suggested that she put on a VA gig. And what happened here is that this gig here has been doing great. I think we're going to be seeing some orders in queue. Now, if you look here on her gig profile area, how many gigs do you see up? Was I telling the truth? How many gigs do you see up? Type the answer. 1 gig. Uno gig. Or un gig. Solo gig. No, actually it's not 2. Oh, I think, I know why I said 2. The custom order screen here is not a gig. It's actually just saying that the buyers can come here and click on request a custom order and they can get something specially done for them. But I can see why you're confused, but it's really 1 gig. So I'll still give you correct for the answer, right? Because you thought that image was actually a 2nd gig. It's just 1 gig. Again, this is not recommended, but let's actually click on her gig and see what's happening here with this gig. How many orders do you see in queue for this virtual assistant gig? Yes, and what's the amazing thing about this gig? Apart from the Easter weekend in which, and this would be across the board for all internet freelancers where they're dropping sales, there's been a gig coming in every single day for the seller. And I'm pretty sure if I actually average it out, it would actually still work out to a gig a day on virtual assistant. So having shown you the graphic design, website content, yeah, 1 day on average, actually. In some cases, even 2 gigs coming on a particular day. So, to help the average, since this gig started about, it's a little over a month ago. And what has happened with this seller here is that she's been getting constant inbox requests. And of course, once you get the inbox requests and you can talk to persons, then you can convert them into buyers. What you really want to do is to convert people. But as you can see, she's following here all the tips and techniques that I teach as basics. Do you see the delivery time there for the gig? It's I'm highlighting with the mouse there. Do you see the delivery time for the gig? What's the delivery time that's there? How many days? Right. Also, the other tip that I recommend that you must do, you need to have bold text in your gig image. Notice that the gig image here doesn't have a picture of her smiling. Not that that's anything wrong with that, but you want to have that gig image used as a billboard space. That's what you want. So I made sure I had the design done here where you have virtual assistant in the image. So what happens is that when you see her gigs, beside other person's gigs, it actually stands out. I'm going to see if I can actually demonstrate that point here with another screen, but let me just finish a bit more and just show you of the best practices here. At the end of the image, we see the description. You have all the keywords there of top selling services that you want to have done. So the top selling services that you see there, content writing, data entry, transcription, email, PDF to Word, and there are others that could be handled here because she's actually done telephone calls through this gig. That's a very easy gig, so if some of you are wondering, hey, but maybe I'm not so good at writing, or maybe I can't do graphic design, I can't do Photoshop, even though you can learn, and we do encourage you to learn new skills, but let's say you don't know how to do it right now, or you just don't have the time at the moment for some reason. I'm pretty sure here you can make a phone call, right? Do you think so? Can you make a phone call? Type Y if you think you can make a phone call. I know, I'm just being very ridiculous here, but I'm just trying to show you that she's gotten a $10, I think even up to a $15 order to make like 8 phone calls. And when I say make phone calls, we're not talking about you standing on the phone for an hour talking to somebody. This would be a gig where she was asked to do quality assurance. That means you call a business place like the boss of the company or the director would hire you, a private person, to call their customer service staff to see if they're answering the phone politely, how well do they respond to your questions. Another way that you can use telephone calls as a gig in virtual assistant is people will use this to find research about, let's say, how much does this university charge for this degree program in this state? Or another way that it could be used is to find out how your competitors are doing. So you may ask call this store, find out what's the price for their women's clothing, or, I'm just picking something out of the hat, but you get the general idea. So telephone calls are pretty diverse, just that one skill set alone. And why would this be a top seller? Remember we said before, the reason why people like Fiverr, they're too busy to do the work, or they don't have the skills. So in this case, it would be more of a situation where they are just too busy to make the phone calls. And they can easily pay you $10 to do that. They don't need to hire an assistant, minimum wage of $250 plus US dollars a week to do that. So it's a win-win for everybody here. So that's something that you want to look out for as well. Here are some of the reviews that she has got for the virtual assistant gig. Of course, when you do get the clients in your gig, you want to over-deliver, and then you can get the repeat clients. But we're really focusing on here how to make sure that we're really promoted and optimized. So you want to have this gig image up here, done similar like this with text, a simple background. Right, let me demonstrate why this works. I'm going to now go to the category and browse and see if her gig is ranking in the area for this category here. So business and then virtual assistant. That's where you find that category there. So that's what we are doing. Okay. All right. And let us now go down to online sellers. I'm using online sellers because if you're not online, you're not likely to get the time of day from anybody stopping by to ask you because, hey, they didn't see you online. They don't know if you're going to take an hour to respond to them. So you need to get that Fiverr app on your phone. Make sure that you're online. That's another tip you want to make a note of right there. Always be online. If you don't have the Fiverr app, at least make sure your browser is signed in. So here we have 1,000 and 1,113 persons online in the business category. Virtual assistant, we want to click on that, 403 persons there. Okay, so that is where we are now. All right, everybody okay so far? Just type a Y if you're okay so far, let me know. Alrighty, everybody seems to be fine so far. Okay, great. So let me know, yeah, so I'm in the virtual assistant, so I'm gonna click on show online sellers. All right, so I've got that ticked there. Fiverr not loading, but okay to watch? Okay, all right, got you. So, all right. So she's online and she's in one-day delivery, okay? But even then, that doesn't mean that she's gonna be ranking up here, but let's see what we find here. Let's first view in the recommended section of the virtual assistants. Let's scroll down. We know what the image looks like that we are looking out for. So let's see what comes up here. All right, so we're scrolling down and we're scrolling down. All right, let's see if we find anything in the higher rating. Okay, so we're not seeing it right here. Let's look in the higher rating section. All right, and then let's scroll down. Notice that you have some top rated people here. So for you to be on this list, it's a pretty good list to be on. It's really saying something good about you. Oh, I should just slip this in here. There was actually somebody that we found copied her gig image, actually stole her gig image. Now that's something you definitely can't do. They didn't even change the text. They literally just downloaded her gig image and used it bit for bit, pixel for pixel, the exact same image. It wasn't a Google image because this was custom designed, obviously. So, you can't have a monopoly on a Google image, obviously, if it's a free royalty image. But the person actually used the image. So what I did pick up from that as a kind of flattery is that that person realized that something was actually going on for that gig image. It was really happening. So that was something I thought would be interesting to let you know. You shouldn't do that, of course, because I mean, she hasn't reported that person to Fiverr yet, but if she did, that's an instant, you know, poof, you're off Fiverr and all your hard work goes down the drain. Okay, all right. I'm not seeing her, but she was ranking here before sometime. But because of how her gig is positioned, she is getting good searches. Now look at some of these gig images that you see here. You see that they have text in them and they really stand out. There's a girl, a woman smiling here, Sydney0407. But even though she's smiling, look at these gigs here that have VA written on them. You see that really stands out. So that actually helps you to tap further in and stand out more in a competitive area to really rank high and get those. And that's the reason why over here, our friend here, Design Queen 94, is having one gig doing all of this work. So before the time runs out on me, let me just make this right here. You want to make sure everybody that in your 7 gigs, you have the virtual assistant gig included in your gigs. The reason for this is that the virtual assistant gig is like a super gig. You can do just about anything on it. So while you can have a separate gig in transcription, so that's another high selling area, which the numbers will prove. And I actually started out in transcription and been making most of my living, nearly of my 3-year career on Fiverr doing transcription. It's a top seller, but you want to know that in a virtual assistant gig, you can even do transcription inside of a virtual assistant gig. I call it the super gig, right? But you can have a standalone transcription gig because you will have persons that will search in that standalone category. So you can actually do that, and that works fine. There is actually another seller that I can show you, a new seller, because I want to use new sellers. I don't want to just use like myself. You can say, oh, well, I probably took a year to do that. I want to show you another new seller that has had transcription up for barely over a month and actually will be making their living full-time just from transcription. So let me just see if I can get that person searched for. Okay, while that is coming up, let me just, as I said, go to the transcription category here and just show you how in-demand transcription is. You can do that separately as a separate titled gig, individual gig, or you can have it in the list of services in your description for a virtual assistant gig. As I've been saying, the virtual assistant is like a super gig. You can write articles in a virtual assistant gig. You can do website content. You can even do websites in a virtual assistant gig. So it's really a super gig, and that's why I recommend everybody, if you're not sure what to do on Fiverr, that's an easy answer for me. Just do a virtual assistant gig. It's like a super gig. You can drop almost anything on it. So if you see here on this screen, you have in transcription, persons doing 744 reviews, meaning that they have about 4 times that, 3,000 plus reviews. So is this a top seller? Yes, I think so. And that's pretty much how you can easily tell that transcription would be a high selling gig for you. And of course, you want to make sure you look at the tags. So if we look at the tags for this person here, to how to properly structure our gig, let's go down here. Remember, you can use the same title that somebody else has, because let's say if you have a title, I will transcribe your audio and video. There are tons of people that have that, so there's no way that that could be an issue. It's just a title, so that's okay for you to actually use a title. And I don't want to reinvent the wheel, so I'm just going to use a title if it works. I mean, saying that you'll deliver a clean transcript, I don't think the word clean here is really necessary, because it kind of goes without saying, and that's not something that somebody's really going to search for when they're typing in their search terms. But you want to make sure you have the word transcript or transcribe. The number of minutes can actually help also. For example, if I type in transcribe 30 minutes, I can guarantee I'm going to get one of our Jamaican sellers that's doing really well in transcription. Let me just prove it. Type transcribe 30 minutes on your screen also, so you can see that I'm not tricking you by using some dummy thing. Yeah, I know you trust me, but hey, just do it just the same, okay? And we're going to look and see what comes up right here in the recommended sellers. Now, okay, so we have transcription there. Let me choose the online people. Those are the people that are serious about business. We're just going to scroll on a bit here and choose the online sellers. So we can see here it says 37 online, and you can be online with the app even when you're on the road, so that's a good idea. Okay, already I'm seeing some of our Jamaican people there. Looks like they're already listed way at the top there. Oops, I changed the screen. Let me get back to that. Sorry about that. Let me get right back to that screen. Okay. All right, so we want to actually see the listing of those persons. I'm going to get back to that over here. All right, so let's just wait for this page to come up and see what we see here. Ding, ding. Okay, all right, great. So we have our images coming up. Let's just look at the top, right up the top. Let's go right up to the top here. Okay, now here we have one of our Jamaican sellers here, this gig image here with the Bose headset. I will transcribe 10 minutes, 24 hours. Here's another Jamaican seller that says she will do 20 minutes of English audio and video. I'm not even seeing the real kingpins here. I'm looking out for certain guys here. Okay, here's another Jamaican seller. But you can see they're all over the place. Hey, don't worry about it. Not because the Jamaican sellers are here. You can still eat our food, because when I started in transcription, eat our food is a Jamaican term for you can make money. Need to make sure I explain what I'm saying here. Okay, all right. That's what we mean by eat our food. Okay, everybody? You good at that? So what we simply mean is that I started in 2013. I wasn't the first person transcribing, and I was able to make money. These persons have come after me. They're making money. The demand is there. It's really, in high demand. So, there'll never be too many persons that you can have in transcription. Here's some really nice images here. I really like some of these. This one here is really nice looking. This one here with 35 to 60 minutes. And another one here. Okay, right. So I think I pretty much have given you the main points about this. I want to really take some detailed questions. So let's have the questions, guys. Anything you want me to really look at, you can just mention it right here. Okay, so
Come on, can you hear me?
are being carefully thought out. Yeah, go ahead and ask. We want to hear your question because we only have a few minutes left, and if I get too excited about this thing, I'll talk all day and the time will run out. Okay, please remind me, how do you get the numbers on the left? Okay, all right, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 questions right there. Okay, so just pause with the questions. Let me just take these 4 first. All right. So to get the numbers on the left, okay, the first thing you want to do is to go to the top level category, as I'm doing right now. And when you get to the top level, so as you can see here, I'm in the top level writing translation. And to see the numbers, you simply need to choose one of the options that is on the left to actually have the numbers revealed. So we learned that trick earlier. Let me just repeat it for you. So I suggest you simply use the days, because if you choose the seller status, you may not get to see the best idea, because the seller status is constantly changing. So pick like 3 days, and when you pick 3 days, you can pick any of the days, but pick like 3 days, because the average person will place their gig in about 3 days. That's usually a good indicator of where the numbers are. So notice you see the numbers there again, beside the different subcategories. And if you choose the different delivery times, you'll see the numbers change. But usually the stats will keep the same, in that the one that is the highest number of sellers will have the greatest numbers. And let me just slip this in here, everybody. Do not run away from the areas with the top numbers. That means that money is there. You don't want to do the things that hardly anybody is into. That's one of the things that seems counterintuitive, but it actually makes business sense. So you want to go to the areas that a lot of people are in, because there's a reason a lot of people are there. The work there is plentiful, or as we would say, a ton up. That's our local way of saying the work is plentiful. Okay, so the second question, how do you know your gig is accepted and paid for? Okay, this is actually a slightly off-topic question, but I'll give you the answer. If you have to ask or wonder when you log into Fiverr, if you have an order, you didn't get an order. because Fiverr puts up these red or pink, I'm not sure they say men are colorblind, these indicators on your notifications area that will tell you you have received an order from and the name of the buyer. So if you have to ask if you have gotten your gig paid for, it wasn't paid for. You probably were just speaking with the person in the, okay, Lorette is trying to speak. Okay, just a second, guys. Let's just try to see if we can get Lorette.
Hey, Kamani, can you hear me? So everybody can hear me except for Kamani and Sue. I'm not sure why. Maybe they don't have headsets on. But I just wanted to jump in. Can you hear me now, Sue?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So I was talking and you guys couldn't hear me, but everybody else could. I just wanted to jump in. I just wanted to first, and Sue, it's been extremely helpful. And I did alert Kamani and Sue before we started this webinar that you guys are already pros at Fiverr. You already set up your gigs, and we just needed to take it to the next level. So I'm glad they were able to provide that for you. How are you guys liking this so far? Good stuff, right? All right, we're getting cool. Yeah, great. So yes, they are awesome. And just so you know, Kamani and Sue, as you guys know, we have offices in Jamaica, and when we do, they're the ones that are doing the training, and we love that because they were exactly where you were. You know, they all started, there's this picture that Kamani put that Kamani into the Facebook group, but I remember when Kamani came and he sat in the class and, you know, he was just like you without any experience on doing anything like this. And look at him now. He is extremely well. Same with Sue. So, you know, as well, because they are just rocking it on Fiverr and freelancing in general. So they are great people to ask questions for. So I'm glad that you guys are on this call and have the opportunity to ask questions. So take advantage of their knowledge right now and ask them as you can. So thanks again for joining, and I'm hanging on and I'm listening, and I'm also taking notes and learning from them as well. So keep going, great, and keep asking questions, everybody, because this is your opportunity. And this is also being recorded, so you are going to get this as well, that you can rewatch it at another time. So hopefully everybody already has gigs up and you're using all this information to really take it to the next level. All right, Kamani, keep going.
Okay, so I'm back with you now, everyone. Just to make sure that you're actually hearing me once again, if you can hear Kimani, then you can type K for Kimani. The letter K. Okay, K. All right, gotcha. All right. Okay, now for some of the questions, I'm gonna ask you to maybe, no, not maybe. I'm gonna ask you, because we have a few minutes left, I'm gonna ask you to actually use the link that I'm going to type in the chat, where you can actually access some articles, some links with some basic information for, like the question about the clicks and views. You'll find all of that listed there on their page links. Okay, did that just go through? Support.fiverr.com. It's not actually to chat to customer support. There's actually some information pages there. So for those actual tips, it explains it really, really well, because I want to actually get through some of the other questions that I might need to actually demo. Okay, so hope that's okay with everyone. That's just for the general Fiverr questions. A lot of persons actually don't know. Let me show you on my screen that there's actually a lot of the typical questions that persons ask, not maybe the specific things that I'm doing right here. You can get some of that knowledge base there. So let me just bring it up on the screen to kind of demonstrate what I mean on that portal, because I'm anticipating that there might be some of these kind of more general questions which you can get on the page here. It's like a blog, semi-blog with an academy. It's tons of information here. You'd want to go on the selling on Fiverr section there, because you're obviously not buying. So see here, managing gigs, getting paid, all the basic stuff is there, right? So just wanted to show you that really quick. Okay, How do you deal with someone asking for the work first, then payment? Okay, yeah, I love that question because I have the remedy to fix these people. All right, I do not play with these people at all. All right, very serious. Okay, so what I do is that I let them know, okay, there's two ways to approach this. If you're a new seller, you don't really have as much bargaining power as someone like myself or Sue who are level 2 sellers. Here's what you can do. Let's say you're doing transcription, for example, and they want to see a sample of the work. Let's say they have an hour to give you and they want to see the first 5 minutes. You can let them know that when they order the gig, you'll provide them with regular updates along the way, and if they're not satisfied at any point, they get a full refund. So you let them know that the Fiverr system is basically there to protect them. If you're doing a service like writing, no, that's you only give them the work, half of the work, and they say, I want you to write 1,000 words, but write 100 for me first, and that could actually be all the work they actually need. So you just let them know that, hey, the work is backed by Fiverr, similar as with the transcription example. They can get their money back if they're not satisfied with what you have done. So let them order the gig first and let them know that, hey, you send them samples along the way. If they don't like what they see, they can keep what you've done so far for free, and you'll refund them, no questions asked. All right, that's generally going to work. If they really are coming with something like that, you have to be very suspicious about them, because if they're really reasonable, they'll really allow you to go ahead and start the job with the Fiverr guarantee back in protecting them. Okay, so the clicks and views, all right, so you can just search in that Fiverr screen that I'm showing you here to get that quick answer there. Okay, all of these gig examples here, when I create a gig, what do I do next? So what I'm encouraging you to do, if you already have gigs up and you maybe didn't use some of the tips I was telling you, especially if you don't have an order on the gig, delete that gig. Because here's a quick tip that actually helps people, because I also specialize in resurrecting old gigs that are dead. Because what persons sometimes find is that they have a gig that's been on there for months, even a year. It's dead. What do? You simply delete the gig and create a new one. But why would you do that? The answer is simply this. Whenever you're on Fiverr and you have a gig and you create it for the first time, you get a limited promo time in the new section. Let me just demonstrate that really quickly to you all, because I think that's the last question I have there on the screen, so maybe we'll just wrap it up with this one. So if you look here on the listing here, I'm in the writing and translation. Whether you're in the top level or subcategories, you'll always see new here. Now, when persons want a cheap work, they'll come here, okay? When I'm shopping on Fiverr, I know that's what I do, right? Because you don't want to really pay more than you need to, and that's really why $5 is a starting point for Fiverr. So look at this person here. I will professionally proofread your book. This person here, I will write speech for you. This write speech for you person here named, what is this here? Belinda Martina was first in the #1 spot here. But because new gigs keep rolling in, she gets pushed down back and back and back. So typically, maybe you stay here for about 24 hours. So when you create the new gig, everyone gets this temporary promo here, where your gig is like on the first page of something, which is usually only reserved for high rating, recommended, or top seller persons that really have that spot secured. So you get that limited promotion there, and how you can benefit from that is that, poof, you not only get it in the seller search area up top here, but you also get it in terms of a visible promotion for double the exposure. So when you're making changes to a gig image, don't just change the image, make a new gig. If you don't have tons of reviews on it, just delete the gig. You'll still have the rating. You won't have the reviews. You'll still have the rating, and you can proceed from there. If you have an empty slot, that's even better. Make a new gig while you have the old one there, and you'll see the difference that it makes. So making a new gig gives you the temporary exposure. Don't just change the image. Delete the gig and make a new gig, because you get that bonus exposure there. Now that right there is a super tip. Many people don't know they can actually take advantage of this limited time promotion here. It works every time you create a new gig. It doesn't matter if your account is a month old, a year old, 2 years old. It does not matter. And you don't need to make a new Fiverr account just to benefit from all of that. Whoa, there's so much here to talk about, but I think we might need another webinar for this. If you think you might need another webinar, you probably have to type the word webinar, and maybe I'll think about it. Type the word webinar. Do you think we need another webinar? There's a lot more tips, because I've not even shown you how you can actually improve the rankings of your gig with some SEO techniques. But there's lots more stuff. Some stuff that I've experimented with before, and it actually has worked. But I've actually given you some of the top tips: being online with the Fiverr app, using the images with text in them. Okay, so webinar. So some persons want the webinar. Okay, great. So we're pretty much going to wrap up here. We can't take any more questions. Hope you've enjoyed the session so far. I'm going to let Sue Tanya close out the session here, but it was great being with you guys. And we definitely look forward to the next webinar. But remember, these tips are only as good as the ones you actually put in use, put in practice. So that's the key thing. And the good thing about Fiverr is that it doesn't take you very long. Just spend a couple of minutes a day, because if you're going to reap success from it, then you have to actually sow some seeds of effort. You want to ask another question? Oh, you can slip the question in. I may just type it in the chat window, but I may not be able to give you by voice. You can just slip it in really quick. The question that you have, that's clear. Hope I'm getting your name correctly. You can slip it in really quick. Have to be really quick. We have like a couple seconds that we've got to go. Got to be really quick. Where's the question? Not seeing the question. Where is it? Where is it? Why do we get views, not orders? Okay, a lot of that can be, okay. I've seen, for example, persons have made gigs and they didn't realize they had a typo in their description. They had some grammatical errors, and if you're doing like writing services, that's a no-no. Let's say you were doing voiceovers or something with that, you have to use your voice or music or singing. You have a gig, but you have nothing there with a video with you singing or speaking. They're not going to buy from you. You see, orders are all about persons not only seeing that you're selling what they're asking for, but actually are convinced that you are the one. Okay, you're probably getting the idea there, okay? All right, great. So yeah, there are tons of things to check for your gigs, but you have to make sure that there's no spelling and grammar errors there. That if you have a singing gig and you only have a picture, I mean, I'm not buying from you. You got to sing and let me hear you. I mean, make sense? If you are showing me that you're doing logo design and you just have, I will do logos for you, and you don't have any collage of the logos there, I'm not going to buy from you. I'm just not. You didn't show me anything. I mean, does that make sense? Make sense? Yeah? Great. You are welcome. Oh, you're welcome, Kim. That helps you. That helped you well. Okay, so over to you.
All right. Now, I'm sure you guys really enjoyed the webinar. And if you did, please type Y in the box if you did, if you actually learned something today. All right, awesome. So I know you guys are already in the Facebook group, and I'm sure you guys may have more questions later on. So if you do, you can always post them in the Facebook group, and me or Kimani will respond to them. All right. Now, I don't want to keep you any longer, and time is running out, so I'm about to close off right now. I want to thank you guys for joining in on the webinar and just giving us your time. I know it's late over there, and I know you guys are tired, so we're gonna let you go to sleep now. We just request though that you put these things into practice. As Kimani said, it doesn't make sense if you're listening to the webinar, you're not actually putting these things into practice. So definitely when you get the chance, go ahead and edit your gig so that you can actually reap the benefits and actually be successful. And we're looking forward to your success stories in the Facebook group. All right. Thank you so much again for joining in on the webinar, and have a wonderful night. I'll see you in the Facebook group.